how many times you've gone to get your blood pressure taken. Now think about the number that the machine spits out. Do you understand what those numbers mean? Most likely, the answer is no. So what is blood pressure? In an article from January of 2020, Kristen Dole defines blood pressure as the amount of pressure put on the blood vessels by the blood as it leaves the heart and travels to the rest of the body. It's important to understand how blood pressure is taken and what it means in relation to overall health. Today, I will not only explain how blood pressure is taken, but what it means and its relationship to overall health. So what can you learn from blood pressure? Blood pressure is taken from the arteries, which are the blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart. Arteries are rigid tubes that are able to withstand a lot of pressure. Blood pressure is most commonly taken from the brachial artery, which is in the upper arm. However, it can also be taken from arteries in the leg or in the lower arm. It's most commonly taken from the upper arm because it's closest to the heart. Blood pressure is expressed as a fraction and given in units of millimeters of mercury, which is a common unit of pressure. The top number represents the systolic pressure, which is the pressure when the blood leaves the heart and correlates to when blood begins to drip back into the artery. The bottom number is the diastolic pressure, which is the pressure when the heart is at rest and correlates to when blood is able to flow through the arteries normally. It's important to understand how blood pressure is taken in order to gain full understanding of these numbers and what they mean. When blood pressure is taken manually, a cuff with a pump and a dial, also known as a sphygmomanometer, and a stethoscope are required. The cuff is wrapped around the arm and the stethoscope is placed under the cuff so that a pulse can be heard. The cuff pressure then increases to over 160 millimeters of mercury so that blood flow is cut off. Slowly, air is let out of the cuff, decreasing pressure until a pulse can be heard through the stethoscope. This number, the pressure at this number is the systolic pressure. The cuff continues to loosen until a small gushing sound is heard and the pulse is no longer audible. This correlates to the diastolic pressure. The systolic pressure is put over the diastolic pressure, and this number tells medical professionals a lot about heart health. A lot of important information can be gathered from your blood pressure. The normal blood pressure is 110 over 70 millimeters of mercury. An increased blood pressure can be dangerous because it relates to increased risk of heart disease or kidney problems. The term for an increased blood pressure is hypertension, and this occurs when plaque builds up in the arteries, decreasing the amount of blood flow. It takes time for the plaque to build up, so the intermediate period between normal blood pressure and hypertension is known as prehypertension. Prehypertension occurs at a blood pressure between 110 over 71 millimeters of mercury and 139 over 89 millimeters of mercury. Hypertension occurs at a blood pressure of 140 over 90 millimeters of mercury or higher. Prehypertension is a leading health indicator for hypertension, so it's important to understand what you can do to decrease the amount of plaque that builds up in your arteries. UT Southwestern has a list of treatments that can be used to decrease this amount of plaque. This list includes decreasing the amount of salt in your diet, decreasing the amount of high-fat content foods in your diet, increasing exercise, and increasing the amount of fruits and vegetables in your diet. In conclusion, keeping track of your blood pressure is very important. Blood pressure shows vital information about your heart, blood vessels, and kidneys. By knowing the relationship between your blood pressure and overall health, you are able to determine if any health behaviors need to change. Even if you're unable to take your blood pressure at home, it's important to keep track of your blood pressure in order to gain insight to your overall health. Thank you.